us now, Democratic Representative from New York, Anthony Weiner. Thanks for being with us, Congressman. And before I even throw a question at you, congratulations. I don't think we've spoken since you got married this summer, with none other than former President Bill Clinton officiating.
Thank you.
You seem overjoyed.
Congressman, this is Kathleen Parker. Congratulations. So I need to say that too.
Hey, also, you might want to congratulate me. I did get reelected on Tuesday the 2nd.
Oh,
That's a pretty big deal, too.
Yeah.
Anthony, given the way your district is drawn, we knew that was going to happen.
Well, actually, you know, my district is a pretty good bellwether for the country. It's only a 55% Obama district, and this was a pretty choppy political year all around. But the people in Brooklyn and Queens have given me this honor, and I plan to work hard to make them proud of it.
Congressman, let's turn to last week's debt commission. The draft was released to reduce the deficit, and of course it was greeted with mixed reviews. But before we get into the specifics, you were critical of the president for even appointing the panel. Why not just go about this in a bipartisan fashion?
We're the governing party. We're coming here supposed to reflect our values. Our values are you don't privatize Social Security, you don't turn Medicare into a voucher system, you don't cut VA health care. This is what we believe in. I don't believe in this idea of coming and saying, let's just do a little bit across the board that hurts everyone. I came to fight for middle-class people of my district, and so that's why I think this commission, you know, the three of us probably could have looked at the makeup of that commission and said a year ago what they would have come up with. We know that anything Alan Simpson is the chairman of, he's never been a big fan of Social Security. We kind of saw where this was going. And I think to some degree it's the opposite of leadership to point these commissions and just say, all right, I'll see what they come up with.
Well, but there were some Democrats on that commission. I mean, Dick Durbin and Max Baucus and Kent Conrad, they're hardly pushovers.
I'm not saying anyone on that commission is a good, bad, or a pushover. I'm saying that that's not the way I believe that you should lead. We come here from different parts of the country representing different constituencies, believing different things. We come here to Washington to wage these battles. Look, I don't believe in compromising for the sake of compromising. For example, the new Republican Congress is coming in with a blueprint that includes privatizing Social Security. My constituents aren't saying, hey, Weiner, go there and privatize Social Security, or at least compromise on it. They're saying fight for a program that's helped the middle class and helped prevent seniors from slipping into poverty. So I frankly think the commission as a concept was the wrong one.
Let me ask you what is, in this case, the $64 trillion question. How do we then bring our fiscal balance back to where it needs to be? And I hear you about Social Security, okay, but we're going to have to push you the same way we push everybody else. There is an $11 trillion chasm in our government, situation, our government balance of payments over the next decade. How do we begin to close it? Whether it's Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, which are the three big programs, or defense, are you beginning to say we've got to cut something fundamentally?
Well, listen, you know, part of what I think is preposterous about the timing of this commission is we're doing it at the time when we're just starting to implement a health care reform bill that's going to save a lot of money. We have to realize 25% of our entire economy, every single thing that we consume, less than about 20% of our entire economy is health care and health care alone. That's driving up prices enormously. As I've suggested throughout the health care debate, the less expensive way to deal with health care is to gradually expand Medicare and phase out the private insurance model, which is putting hundreds of billions of dollars each year into the pockets of insurance companies. But the way that you do this is, first of all, you start rewarding politicians for thinking a little bit in advance. Right now, we just had an election where, I hate to say this, but the people that won the elections are people that said they voted no every single time. If that's the lesson, how do you incentivize anyone to think about a program that might inure to our benefit in 5 or 10 years?
I agree with you in your critique. I've been saying, as many others have been, the Republican Party was the party of no. It was the party of no on steroids in this past election. Put that aside for the moment, because I still want to push you about what you will do to close the deficit chasm, because we're not going to move to single payer. We're not going to be expanding Medicare, even though I was with you in virtually everything you were saying during the healthcare debate. So given the political realities of the moment, where would you, if you need to put this budget together, make those tough decisions?
Well, wait, you just said that you believe in what I said would work, but it's not politically realistic. You asked me two different questions. If you want to ask me,
not possible.
No, if you want, that's not true. It's not possible. It's completely possible to expand Medicare to cover people 55 next year. That's very possible. It's very possible to end the farm subsidies I mentioned. It's very possible to end the subsidies for the United States Institute of Peace that I just mentioned. These things are all possible. One of the things that I believe we need to understand around here is it doesn't come from a silver bullet from a bipartisan commission whose bills are paid by lobbyists. It comes from members of Congress coming here and saying, you know what, I didn't just come here to deconstruct. I came here to offer ideas. Throughout the health care debate, I offered an opportunity to restructure infrastructure health care that would have saved this country tens of billions of dollars. Now, you don't like the answer because you think it's not politically feasible. I believe I'm going to keep fighting for things that I think are right.
Anthony, I agree with you about both the farm subsidies and the International Association of Peace, I forget the precise name of it, and also expanding Medicare would have been a good idea. But as we look forward, given the reality of the House, it really isn't going to happen. I'm with you substantively. So I'm saying to you, if you needed to put together a budget right now, if you were sitting in the Oval Office and needed to put together a budget that would pass, where would you compromise to get these cuts?
Well, hold on a second. First of all, I mean, it's pretty clear that you're talking about the reality starting in January with the new Republican Congress. Their policies that they advocate dramatically increase the deficit. We know that. It increases the deficit because they have an unfunded a tax cut that they want to give to millionaires and billionaires. But we have to understand that part of what I'm going to be doing in the opposition is if they say we want to drive up the deficit by doing those things, to say no and offer different ideas. But I certainly don't believe the president should offer a politically palatable budget to Republicans just because they won. He should still fight for the things we believe in.
Look, I agree with you in all that, but you're still not really answering the question. Where will you then close the deficit? If you want to say you'll increase taxes on the wealthy, that's great. If you want to say...
But I just, what Elliot, what you and I are missing in our conversation here is I keep proposing things. You say, oh, you can't do that. That's not realistic. These are the things I believe in and I'm going to fight for.
Some of them were too small to be material. Expanding Medicare was part of the health care debate, and I was with you on it, but that's not relevant to today's budget conversation.
Why?
That I think you would agree is a reality.
Why?
But because there's simply no votes for it, and there's no way...
Okay. Yes, there's no doubt about it. Democrats lost the election. That doesn't mean I'm going to start being a Republican.
All right, that's fair enough. Okay, but all right. So then is that the extent, however, of your capacity to find the major cuts in these programs?
No, but I think no. Here's what I believe. I believe that this is a choice, and my divining thing in this choice, in every one of these that's going to come up, whether it's in the Deficit Commission or anything the Republicans propose, is this program helping the middle class and those struggling to make it? That's who I'm working for. So if someone says, hey, it's a great idea, let's eliminate the mortgage interest deduction. And that's the single tax cut that most middle-class people get. They don't get a lot of the other fancy ones. I'm going to fight to make sure that doesn't happen. Okay, so you can say, oh, well, it's not realistic to say that one doesn't happen. But that's what I'm going to be here fighting for in the loyal opposition. And hopefully the president realizes he's still the president. We should still articulate things that are good for the middle class. We should still be trying to save those programs and help the middle class. But if the Defense Department says there are things they don't want, if there are tax cuts that we can't afford for millionaires and billionaires, I'm obviously going to listen. But one thing I won't do is buy into the idea that just because a bunch of Republicans got elected that I have to start acting like one.
I'm with you on that.
All right, Congressman, one last question. I want to circle back to something you said earlier when you were talking to Elliot. You were critical of the president's leadership on issues that you care about. Has he been effective?
Look, I think the president has managed to pass, under his leadership, some remarkable historic things that needed to get done for a very long time that we've been ignoring. We've been ignoring health care, ignoring the financial reforms that Elliot's such an expert on. We've been ignoring our education system. Now we're starting to do things to structurally build the underpinnings of our economy. The things that he's been weaker on is explaining in a clear, visceral way to the American people why they're important and what he's trying to do. That's been a critique I've had from him on now, you can say, what's your choice? Would you rather have someone that's good at doing things or good at explaining things? As the president himself pointed out yesterday, you need a little of both.
Thank you, Congressman, for being with us.